Yo, it's about Mikey. Today we're talking about Kola Deep Hole, like also known as Kola Borehole. Like this is like the deepest hole ever dug, about like 8 miles, if I'm not wrong. Like, and there's a lot of mysteries and conspiracies surrounding it. So I had to cover it, like especially like this mystery is actually prevalent in the flat Earth circles. Like how did they actually know like if the entire Earth's crust and all that shit, like if they only dug like 7.8 deep miles down below. So that's one of the greatest mysteries. And which is like, let's just check into the mystery of the Kola Superhole, Borehole, whatever they actually call it.
Arctic tundra on the peninsula here, surrounded by lakes, is a decrepit cluster of two-story buildings. The only living creatures to be seen are Arctic rabbits taking shelter among the debris.
Is so remote, extremely dry, cold conditions. It's just not a great place to be.
Concrete buildings lay derelict with twisted wreckage, smashed and scattered equipment. And at the center of it, one building looks like it's been ripped apart.
There's all of these buildings, partly derelict. What was going on here? Was it some sort of concentration camp? Was it some sort of military base?
So what took place here in this bleak and inaccessible corner of Russia's Arctic North? And why was this site abandoned? In the 1960s, the Soviet Union is in a scientific and technological race with the West to understand the inner depths of our planet. But this investigation...
Yeah, I highly doubt Cold War narratives. Like, I don't think that there actually was on a race for Cold War. There was something like nefarious going on between the two countries. It's not some kind of like a race or something like that. I heavily don't believe that. That society and propaganda actually, history and propaganda actually wants to put that fact like there was some kind of like a Cold War race, maybe between intelligence agencies and shit. But I don't think like I highly think they actually were cooperating during the Cold War period.
Is not part of the Soviet Union's open military rivalry. It's a scientific step to understand the geology that is hidden thousands of feet beneath us.
At the moment, the way that we look inside the Earth is through what we call seismic waves. We make a big explosion on the Earth's surface, and we see the way the shock waves travel into the Earth and back out again. And we come up with structures, we find barriers in there. But what are they?
In the 60s and 70s, there was this huge fascination with the structure of the Earth and trying to...
But can seismic waves and barriers can actually detect, you know, a mantle and a core and shit? Can they actually do that?
Figure out if you could drill down through the Earth's crust, the top layer, into the mantle, which is the soft kind of plastic layer that lies under the crust. It was almost like a subterranean space race.
Like, how did they even know divisions and subdivisions? Like,
who could get down the deepest first?
This complex is the site of an extraordinary...
I don't buy the narrative at all. Like, I think there's something like the hole was being dug for different reasons, not just like for like who can get the deep down. Like, it was some kind of like a razor competition. Like, there's something mysterious and ominous reasons.
Project to uncover the secrets of the Earth's geological structure. This is the Kola Superdeep Borehole. Only about 9 inches in diameter, this metal lid opens a new scientific frontier. But it's undertaken in competition with America.
In the 60s, the Americans had started a project called Mohole to try to dig down through the crust. They didn't get very far, but they learned a lot.
With the Mohole in Guadalupe Island, Mexico, American geologists only reach 601 feet through the seabed, 11,600 feet under the water. But the Russians are aiming for something over 4 times deeper.
And then the Russians came back in 1970 with this super deep borehole.
And they have a distinct advantage in drilling in such a cold location.
The Kola Peninsula sits in an area of very, very old crust. It's called a shield, really old crust. And what's important there is that the temperature increase as you go with depth is very light. So you have much more chance of getting deeper before it gets too hot.
The prize for Soviet engineers is not just outperforming the USA and gaining new geological data. They also want to control the Earth's resources. And they want to do it from a remote base.
This is a very out-of-the-way place. They had to bring in all the materials and expertise. But the Soviet Union did a lot of that. They were good at infrastructure and building big, sophisticated bases in remote locations.
The digging of the well itself is a big difficulty. I have never drilled anything like it. No one could advise us on the way to do it.
But drilling into the Earth's crust in this out-of-the-way location is easier said than done. The first problem that has to be overcome is one of basic physics. Even though the borehole will only be 9 inches in diameter, the immense torque of turning drill tubing, weighing over 1 million pounds, makes the task impossible. So Soviet engineers use a radical new way of overcoming this difficulty: an annular-shaped core drill.
The technology with drilling is you actually just have the drill bit at the end and moving. You force mud and other things down to keep this thing moving, and that's where it's grinding away at the rock. And in between, you can take out essentially the shaft of rock, what we call the core, and look at the structure of the earth.
The things I actually heard, like when they tried to like dig the core borehole, they at least they found water, then they found more like land and shit, then they found water. Like they're alternate, like, you know, they're alternate foundings of what actually was the end of the hole, like, but they eventually inevitably like end up with a hard rock, and they couldn't even penetrate that. Like,
The deeper you drill, the harder it is to manage the drilling process. Equipment can get stuck in the hole, the temperatures get really high, the rock doesn't behave properly. So this was a huge technological achievement for its day.
The difficulties were colossal. We had to develop everything, there and then. And we contended with the difficulties of the north, being short summers, cold, and remoteness.
For over a decade, they drilled into the crust using a 200-ton, 200-foot-high drilling machine, housed in a huge yellow tower in the center of the borehole site. Drilling deep into the Earth's crust, averaging 196 feet a month, it wears out nearly 25 miles of pipes just from friction and heat. And the borehole becomes the deepest hole in the world, at an astonishing 39,000 feet.
The borehole beat the world record in 1979. It was almost 40,000 feet below the surface, which is an amazingly deep distance when you think about it. The Marianas Trench, which is the deepest place in the ocean, is not even near that deep.
But at 39,587 feet, there is a catastrophic failure.
When you're drilling so deep into the Earth's crust, you're actually miles away from where you are on the surface, and you're drilling and drilling away. That's one thing. If you then take the drill bit out and then you try and re-enter the hole, that's when it can cause many, many problems. It's like trying to find that needle in a haystack down to where you were drilling before, and the drill bit itself can get stuck, and you can break the drill string. And in this instance, thousands of feet of drill string were broken.
Engineers now have to start a new hole from an offshoot at 23,300 feet. It takes another 5 years to bore hole down to the amazing depth of 40,230 feet. But at this incredible depth, drilling becomes practically impossible.
The Soviets discover that when you get far enough underground, the rocks are no longer rocks.
Because as you go down, it starts getting hotter. And as it gets hotter,
what the fuck was that? Like, what is this?
Are no longer rocks.
Okay, what? Whatever, bro.
because as you go down, it starts getting hotter. And as it gets hotter, it's harder for the equipment, for your drill equipment to hold up. But also, the rock itself begins to get a little bit soft, begins to flow a little bit like silly putty.
The temperatures of the borehole itself were getting extremely hot, so hot that the drill head itself was becoming almost impossible to operate due to just the elevated temperatures, just so hot down there.
With their equipment failing rapidly as they encountered staggeringly high temperatures at these depths, the engineers at Kola have no option but to stop further drilling. Though they fail to reach their target depth, they push scientific knowledge of the Earth's structure further than ever before and make astonishing discoveries.
One thing that surprised them was they discovered a lot of water deep, deep down in the borehole, way below where you would find groundwater or any effects of ocean water.
Scientists also found there was a tremendous amount of hydrogen trapped in the rocks, which is completely unexpected. They theorized it came from water that had been squeezed so strongly that it actually released hydrogen gas.
But that isn't all they find.
We did find life, bacteria, at the depth of 24,600 feet.
The microfossils found that deep were actually single-celled organisms that had existed long, long ago, and scientists were very surprised that life could even exist or could be found that deeply.
The Kola borehole penetrates nearly a third of the way through the Baltic continental crust. It's the deepest artificial point on Earth, a record that is still held today.
That's also one thing. Like, there's also like other conspiracy. Like, the workers actually heard the sounds of hell, and they were very convinced that actually, like, you know, there's something like ominous and nefarious about when they actually reach. at that point, and they were actually hearing the sounds of hell. There's also like a a fake conspiracy. Like where's that? Where's that video?
The sounds you're about to hear can come out of hell. In 1970, a team of Russian scientists drilled a hole in the Kola Peninsula, hoping to reach the Earth's mantle. As they reached a depth of 12 kilometers, they encountered a sudden increase in temperature, up to 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. They decided to lower a microphone into the hole, hoping to measure the movement of the crust. But what they heard instead was something that chilled them to the bone. The microphone picked up the scary sounds, and they believed they had drilled into the gates of hell. And here are the sounds they got. The sounds you're...
Now this sounds embarrassing and shit, but it has been like proven fake. Like it was some kind of prank on a news radio channel. Like I don't know if that's actually true or not, but it was like proven fake. So there's that conspiracy. Like it's definitely not real. Like but that's also there's like a footage of like there's like a footage of this is the actual footage of the whole like. But who knows if this footage is actually also real.
Okay, we're recording hole number 2. We're at caller and down.
Imagine if you actually fall into this hole, like you're fucking dead, like. This video is 11 million views. What the fuck? Yeah, it's just.
So 376 feet is that the first time.
They actually found water here.
376. $415 feet. So 467, which is the white picture fast. More. Yeah, more water around 469.
Seems like the footage when you put a camera on my fucking toilet. Like, what the fuck? Yeah, it's just water. But as I'm trying to find a news article, like that said, like the workers were experiencing sounds from hell and like they're kind of like receiving some kind of like ominous visions and dangers and some. But I couldn't find that newspaper article, so. That's about it. Like, that's the mystery of the Kola Borehole. But yeah, like there are a lot of like conspiracies surrounding this whole actually what it is, bro. So it's very actually fun to actually like look into it.